Proper intro needed. So first of his name. Yeah, I suppose you have first. Yeah, first of his name. Ruler of the 7 parishes around Cashel, and the
Okay.
one true Scrum King is John Fogarty back on the podcast.
Back and in color, live and in color.
You look great. You look healthy.
I'm glad it's from here up. I eat my way through stress. But I've just went out to South Africa. I was out to South Africa for 5 days with Ulster.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just to do with the scrum, just the king of scrum out in Africa.
Yeah.
Just do with the scrum. So yeah, 5 days, a bit of sun, and I've just come back from Kerry.
Well, that's where you got it.
Maybe it's the Kerry. Sorry, maybe it's the Kerry. We actually had 2 nice days.
Was there?
Yeah, lovely. Yeah. So
class. Oh, how was South Africa and scrummaging out with them lads?
that's good. It's a good group. A couple of good few weeks ago, I was asked would I help out, and it was a no-brainer. There's a good group of lads up there. Hendy and Tom O'Toole and Tom Stewart and Rob Herring. I'd worked with them with Ireland, and was asked to go out, and I was asked to go up and do maybe 1 day a week sort of thing. So yeah, it was a no-brainer. It was brilliant. Yeah, it was great. Did a couple of sessions, and was in Durban and Cape Town. Cape Town's gorgeous, so a bit of sun, and the games, they didn't win the games, but getting there.
But you're screwed. See, this is a question I want to ask you. Like, even if the game is going pure shite, like, but the scrums are going class. Is there something inside your head where you go, well, look at lads, I just say it, like, I
didn't mind it. Yeah. You're always happy when your part goes well, but yeah, you're always happy when your part goes well.
Yeah, there
we
go. It's fine to be selfish.
You really are.
It's fine to be selfish, John. Do you know
what
I mean? Like,
in the dressing room afterwards, and you kind of swan around, like, and you're kind of going, well, you're welcome. I did my bit.
So since we last talked, you've won a Grand Slam, a Six Nations, a series win down South Africa. The World Cup went well to a point, do you know?
Yeah.
And then you won another Six Nations. I'm just saying, things turned fairly class after the last podcast. That's coincidence. I don't know.
You see. It's been a mad couple of months. I think, look, genuinely, I'm in with such a good group of guys that are coaching with Ireland, and there's a brilliant mix of youth and experience. And I know Johnny's finished up now, but the run into the World Cup, the series win down in New Zealand, all that stuff was incredible. The team was growing the whole time, and the energy coming from the younger lads, and then this kind of, Johnny was determined to make his final moments in an Irish jersey so successful, and he drove the team forward to so many successes, and it is disappointing we didn't get it done in when it mattered in a World Cup, but it's a journey, and we're in a good place now to keep moving forward.
Because I'm good friends with Anna Capeless. We have a podcast, a rugby podcast, where it's rugby adjacent. It's mostly me cursing through the whole thing, and she actually talking technically about rugby. That's kind of the mixture, and people seem to be able to tolerate it. But she's agreeing with me, and a few people didn't. That, like, not to drag up old ground, but like that 2 of those tries in the New Zealand scored were forward passes. I don't care. I don't care. I can be butt ignorant. So you can't be really, like, but I can be butt ignorant about it. And the fact that you didn't cut my head off there means you saw it too.
I think, like, you can't depend on, you can only depend on yourselves in how you prepare the team and how the team perform on the day. That the players, we can't leave it to a referee or to a TMO or anything else.
Yeah.
You got to get the job done. So all that stuff, you can kind of look back and go, oh Jesus, but the reality is, I think the first 20 minutes of that game, we went through it. We had to go through it as coaches. It was very painful. We all came together a couple of weeks.
When did you do that? When did you do that?
Andy brought us together, and it was up in the Aviva Stadium. And he goes, right, lads, let's do it. And we watched the entire game, and you could hear groans. The first few moments of the game, there was a couple of penalties, and scrum creaked in the first few moments of the game, and I'm like, Jesus. And we all as individual coaches had our moments where we're putting our hands to our faces, and you go through it. You pick through it so that you can figure out what it is we can do better, and it was it was tough work, but
That's rough going.
It was good, and yeah, we're in a good place.
Well, I suppose like to make a fighter analogy, because I often think a lot of sports can be brought straight back to boxing or straight back to fighting or whatever, because the simplicity of that. But you never wait for the judge's decision; you knock the fucker out, and that's that. Like, you know what I mean?
Exactly. And look, the lads had built so much momentum. There was so much confidence and belief going into the game, and there's a few moments in that first 20 minutes where we concede too many points. We were a little bit ill-disciplined, and we didn't get out of blocks like we have done in the other games. But to come back, I think we were a point or two behind at halftime. So to get knocked back, but come back and be a point or two before halftime, then concede a few early tries in the second half, but come back again. The character of the team is off the charts. So it's the smallest of margins sometimes in those types of games, and it didn't happen. And you need to own that as a group, and individually and as a group. And we went through a process of figuring things out together as a group, and you move forward and move on. That's all you can do, isn't it?
I think what people really like, and what the messages we get from the podcast, because we were in an awful way, like, you know what I mean? And I was being very dramatic through the whole thing on the podcast. I won't lie. I was being very dramatic. And at the end of it, we made the analogy that at the time, the Ireland team were like an ex-boyfriend, like, but that you were still mad about, like, and you might every so often, just you check out, like he checked your story and stuff like that on Instagram, and you might stand outside his bedroom window with a ghetto blast over your head, but ultimately he hurt you. So it's trying not to get too excited.
Look, you can trust me. Come back in. It's okay. Don't worry. We look after you.
It's like Rihanna and Chris Brown again, isn't it? Oh no! Thank God you're sung dancer. In fairness to you, God. But we did. But you know what? People were messaging and going, "I know, stick with." And in fairness, but come the Six Nations, it was like, turns out we're actually still totally class. Do you know what I mean? There was like the hangover would have been expected, but it was like, lovely. Oh, class. We're back together again. Like, and I can move my start wearing your hoodie again and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think everyone in the group was looking forward to the Six Nations, because again, like Andy is brilliant at mentally framing the lads, and I don't think he needed to do that too much, but he still is brilliant at doing that to make sure that everyone's on the same page, forward focused around what it is this group can achieve. And like everyone was hungry to do something meaningful in that Six Nations. And at the very beginning of it, what a brilliant start to a competition.
Yeah.
I have to go over there, and I hadn't been to that stadium before, and I was talking to a few of the lads, and they were saying, "Oh my God, this is amazing! This stadium and the French, the atmosphere that the French people down in the south of France that they'll put into the stadium it'll be off the charts." And the team were so focused leading into that first game, and say what you want about France, kind of missing Dupont and Intimac and not maybe getting. They were going through the same thing. Are we getting over the World Cup? But the lads hit the ground running. Jack Crowley did a brilliant job. I'm sure he was under some pressure.
Jesus, yeah.
Game, so the lads were brilliant. Joe McCarthy. So again, an injection of a bit of youth, a bit of energy from a few places, and the same old faces producing the goods, in Caelan Doris and a few others, and Pete. And so yeah, it was a brilliant start. A brilliant start.
It must be class for you, like, especially, when you've got somebody's like Joe or whatever, and he's like, it's almost like a hold my beer moment. Do you know what I mean? Isn't it? It's like, stand back. I don't care what's gone before me. Watch this. Do you know?
Yeah.
He goes trucking. That is some size of like, for a white guy, that is a huge human. My God. Like we don't turn out white fellas that big. Like not in Ireland anyway, we don't.
You know what? The mother's from Cashel.
Do you know what? I knew there was something.
You
I
know what I
knew there
mean?
was something.
You know what I mean? So yeah, he's look, big personality, big fella, and you know he's got a long way to go. You know the coaches
Yeah.
the coaches are working so closely with him to make sure performances are on track and he's gaining and all that stuff. But what a barrel of energy! And he does off the pitch in the gym. He's Jason Cowman looks after all the lads S&C wise, and he says, you know, anytime he's doing his weights, the group that Joe's in is buzzing. You know, they're buzzing off each other, and there's always competition against lifting. And he's competitive. He's young. He's finding his way. He's Irish, and even better, he's from Tipperary. So it's well,
There
he's
we go.
half Tipperary, but you know what I
No,
mean.
that's good enough. That's good
You can't
enough.
do better. You can't do
No.
better.
No, that's good enough. I think like Tyke Byrne when he came down to Munster that time from Scarlets, I was like, oh wait, your mother's from Care. That's the finest. That's the finest.
Boom.
No bother.
Yeah, exactly.
Jeez,
So
we're
yeah,
only about 7 minutes in, John, and we've already managed to get to Tipperary already.
yeah, Premier County.
I think since I was talking to you last, I've moved here. Did I tell, had we moved here at the last time I was here?
The concussion. I can't remember. I think you were you?
Possibly. I'd say we were only just after landing. I'd say at the time, but it's
Yeah.
Thank God the young fella has a tip accent now.
Does
Thank
he?
God. Oh, he does. Yeah. Oh, he did.
Brilliant. Yeah.
What was he described something as? Oh, it was fair good anyway. Godzilla, fair good. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Fair good, boy.
Fair good. When you think like some of his first words, John, when we were living in very, very South Dublin, were like, absolutely. And I went,
Yeah.
we have to cut you.
Now, and I've got 4 daughters, and you better believe they speak very, very, very well.
Absolute entertainment.
Totes. I'm sure one of them is hearing me up there now. She's going to be like, Dad, Christ. But yeah, we're in the thick of it.
Yeah, because Luke Fitzgerald actually got in contact after the last one because you had gone on about Lukey calling you Fogatron. Yeah, he got
Fogatron. Yeah. He lives around the corner. Actually, I'm surrounded by them.
Jeez, fair play to you, boy. Fair play.
Holding my own.
That's some going, and you still have an accent. Thank God. Thank God. I mean, no.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? To be an awful thing if you started leaning into that kind of oh God. No, I can't even. I couldn't picture it with your head. I couldn't picture it. I couldn't.
Yeah. No,
do you know what I was impressed throughout any of the media days that you were on. Some of the lads seemed, you know, very sporty. Look, this is what you're getting, and you know we'll review the tape and we'll go back and we'll the usual old scutter like. And sure, in fairness to him, that's in fairness to him,
you know what you have to do. You know,
that's not my job, and this is all you're getting out of me. But to be fair, there was a bit of like devilment and animation in you, like you know, you're going, just you'd sit up and watch John, not just because I know you or whatever, but it was like there's something. You're very. I like your hands move. Your hands move nicely.
Well, actually, my cousins. I'm in a WhatsApp group with all my cousins. There's too many of them in Cashel,
right?
And that's all I get. Will you stop moving your hands? And like I am very animated, but like I'm feeling it as I'm talking. You know what I mean? I'm buzzing, thinking of the lads, thinking of the team, and I can't stop. I can't stop doing it at all. Like I need to just. So do you see in this actually? I'm holding my hand like that now. But it's I can't explain why it's happening.
I like it. It kind of reminded me of, did you ever see Talladega Nights? And Ricky Bobby didn't know what to do with his hand. I don't know what to do with my hands.
Yeah,
just
that's
kept on
the
coming.
clip they sent on to me the whole time where he's like that. So yeah, I'll get a grip of it.
No, because then you'd be
a tendency to curse as well. If I'm really getting into something, maybe it's in the paper stuff I do it where I'm like, you know, like I think it's just very fucking important, and then I go, please don't put the F in, just take it out. And they'll go, take it out. So hand person
in this day and age, it's like it's almost like the emperor's new clothes. Are we all pretending that we all don't curse still to this day? Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
it's my mother. I'd be like, oh Jesus,
right.
Then Mum's gonna read it and she'll go, you leave out the
John.
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 Yeah, so it's more the mother.
Yeah, no, I get, I completely understand that, but no, I've ruined that. My mother's seen my stand up, so there's
Yeah.
the
You're
shit I
fucked.
say. Yeah, the shit I say, like, man, you can't, like, even the other, well, I knew we had made a succession when we succeeded by bringing the young fella down. There was a moment, and you'll appreciate it. He wanted to go out playing with the ball outside. He was maybe 2.5, and he hadn't heard any curse words at this stage. And I was going, geez, maybe we've done well. Maybe he hasn't heard me cursing now. Maybe. And in this one particular moment, started flogging rain outside. He looked out the window, leaned back, went, fucking rain.
Oh, I know that feeling.
You can't get angry at it either because he's
Yeah.
100% right. Fucking
Oh, he's
rain.
100% right. Yeah.
There's no.
It's yeah. Here we
There,
go again. In rain.
but you're like you were saying. I was saying you look well. Like you do. You look right. Are you eating what the boys eat when you're in camp? Like
I'm eating what the boys eat. I'm eating the same portions that the boys eat. I'm uh I'm eating more than what the boys eat. It's yeah, it's like I see it as a sign of health. Like
100%.
Simon needs to be. I'd be worried about his health.
He's a pencil of a man. He's only a shadow of the man he used to be.
Yeah, like a really bad cold could get him. And I keep saying it to him. So I'd go in the morning and I'd look at him and go, "You all right? Is everything okay?" And he'd be like, "I'm fine. Why?" I'm like, "You're just
He does have a very gaunt look about him. All right.
very gaunt, yeah, very gaunt." Whereas, and he'd slag me for being a little bit rotund. And I'd say, "Look, I'm ready. I'm ready for what life is going to throw at me in the future." Cold.
100%.
But who knows? The climate the way it is now, who knows what's going to happen? My body is ready for it. I'm nesting in a way,
Well,
but healthy nesting.
you're pre-apocalyptic is what you're doing, like, because you
Yeah.
never know. You may have to eat Simon Easterby at some stage. You may, or
Exactly.
use him as a battering ram to get out
Yeah.
of a situation.
So yeah, exactly. A bag of bones. Yeah, I don't know. I'm doing little bits. I wouldn't say I'm doing a lot. I generally have a fairly optimistic view of just about anything. If things are going crap, I'll find a way to find a positive spin in it.
Yeah,
I go, sure, look at there's a
that's a
bit,
that should be your one go to when the cameras are on you. Or you have to sit down.
yeah,
Sure, look
sure,
at lads. Sure, look at.
like that's kind of the way, but and we'll find a way. And like honestly, I think that's the way I think generally. So like I'll say to myself, I'll eventually lose a few pounds and um, you know, I'll get there. But I
Sure,
wouldn't like to I would like to be like Simon or
okay.
Paul. Paul's gotten a bit skinny now as well.
Do you know what? I said it to myself from the stage because you're fully in power when you're on the stage and nothing can be said to you, like, at all.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
I said it to him. I said, Paul, please don't turn sideways. We'll have to mark you absent. What has happened to Paul O'Connell? If we put a red tie on the front, you would call your thermometer. What the fuck is going
Yeah,
on here?
yeah.
He's like, well, he said, I put weight back on. I said, not enough. Not
No, not enough. Not
you.
enough.
For a heroic person, you can't change. You have to look like that forever. In fact, cosmetically, you're going to actually have to get surgery to stay looking like you, even at your 90s. I'm sorry.
Yeah. He's
And
not the
Keith Earls
Paul.
was no, Keith Earls was 100% in agreement. He says,
Yeah.
look at me. I look like I did when I was playing a week ago. I was like,
Again, I'd worry about him a small bit, but I'm helping him along to,
good.
I'm there for them.
But that's it. Keep him filled out and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
he does he enjoyed getting the head taken off him, in fairness to him. And
He told
everybody,
me he loved it. He loved it. He came back. Jesus, there's a fella from Cashel. I know you know him, Tom Mahony. Look at he did a show. He was brilliant.
but that is the best Paul O'Connell I have ever heard. That is the fucking best. That him clipping that is the best Paul
He would
O'Connell.
then say to me, I do not sound like that. But he does. But he loved it. He really did. He really loved. He was saying, was it Barry and does it just near where he lives in Castle Troy? Is it Castle Troy? Is
Yeah,
it
yeah,
near?
yeah. The
Yeah,
hotel, they were with a couple of nights. It was eventually, I think they were trying to crowbar it in between a bunch of other music gigs and stuff like that. And
yeah,
I was kind of going, okay, we'll try and run a monthly thing here, but I think you've already loaded your plate a bit too much, but we'll give it a go. And in fairness, what I love, and I remember working with an acting coach years ago, and he said, I fucking loved anybody that's ever played sports because you don't ask questions. You're like fucking robots. He says it's great because anything, the stupid shit he was getting me to do, it was Shakespearean standard, right? But they have
Right.
you going around like a gorilla on the ground and everything. Whatever you can mimic, you just have to be the best at it, like, and that's that. Whereas
Yeah, and you
others,
give it a go, yeah.
others were just kind of standing back going, now what has the gorilla eaten today, and where's his emotional state? And I'm running around on all fours, like trying to shit in the walls and do it
Straight in.
straight in. But sure, that's what the man said, so I was like, fucking rip into it. All right, but
It's the only way to be, I think.
what then the first night, the club in Cask, because I went up and I met Barry and Paul upstairs and Keith upstairs, and we're chatting away, and I right front row lads, obviously. And you say that to people, but they never do. They never will go to the
Yeah,
front row, especially if they've ever seen anything of me ever. And Paul
yeah.
was like, sure, look, yeah, all right, Erzy, yeah. And he was like, I'm fucking not. He was, Erzy. He goes, all right. And we went down. There's still no way did I believe him. And everybody was congregating everywhere, bar the front row. I was like, Paul,
Yeah.
we're kicking this off in 2 fucking minutes. He goes, can we bring pints? I went, Jesus Christ, of course you can bring pints. This is actually, everything is secondary to pints in here. Me telling jokes is secondary, right? And you just see this giant human get even taller and go, oi, what? And everybody else was like, oh, Paul O'Connell.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
guess we better fill the front row. So, and everybody went with him. It's just, they
yeah.
followed him because it's Paul O'Connell.
Why wouldn't you? Yeah.
But it was a couple of, he was great, and Earls was great to support it. I think they were more fascinated because they'd no grasp of what they obviously had seen the odd stand up at huge shows, but they'd
Yeah.
never seen a club style night where
Yeah.
everybody's getting done.
But
Everybody,
that's what he said. He said it was remarkable how you could pick people apart and ask a few questions, and next thing he said he was in stitches. He said like he was just picking people apart and knocking them down. It was brilliant. So did a great night. So did a
yeah,
great. Was Kyo there? Was that a different night? Stephen.
that was the second night. I think Kyo came
Right.
on with
Yeah.
him. And Shapur Al Kyo, God bless it, he got absolutely annihilated. Like he's too big and too massive to not. Do you know what I
He's a
mean?
brilliant. He's some man. He's some entertainer as well. To be fair.
Do you know what? But you feel that energy off him.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
do you know
He's
what I mean?
brilliant.
If somebody has their arms folded and they're fucking staring at the ground, you're like, this is going to be a comedy cul-de-sac. Like,
Yeah. Some
But
crack.
also, you can punch up on somebody. You can punch up on somebody who's 6'3" and built like a fucking oak tree. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? A pint looks like a child's cup in his hand. Like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
that was what like it's an old gag. Like, but there was he had his foot on the stage. I says,
That's right.
how long you in showbiz, Stephen? Oh well, fucking I don't know. Well, if you're not, get your fucking foot off my stage. Well, look, I thought O'Connell nearly punched the missus and everything beside him. He was laughing so hard, like the head flying all over the fucking place. I was like, thank Christ he likes it anyway. Jesus Christ,
Exactly. Yeah.
But he was fascinated by he's one of those people, isn't he? Like he came up and
Yeah.
he just quizzed me from day one to now and all the
Whole
facets.
process. Yeah. How do you go about it? That's Paul though, isn't it? Like he's brilliant. He's brilliant. He puts so much time into like even the conversations he'll have. He'll put so much time into thinking about what the right thing to do is. Works so hard. Watches so much tape. From across. Super Rugby, Top 14, Premiership, URC, you name it, to find ways to help the lads understand this is what 100% looks like. This is what we're after, and help them along their way. And he can do it in a way where they really know he's helping them to get better. But he can also do it in a way where he's making it really, really clear. Where he's really direct, clear. So I mean, he's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. I'm learning so much from being around someone like Paul because I'll be a little bit, I'll be different. I put fuck all time into thinking about it. I would.
It's called a spade here. Look, Tom, I just riff. You're like myself. You just riff sometimes.
Exactly,
Just like, let's see what we got, lads. Let's see what we got.
I think we do this today. Wait a minute. Wait a second. Hold on a second. Yeah.
We've been thinking about this for 6 months, have we?
Yeah.
I literally just woke up this morning and now we're doing it.
Yeah,
That's
we're doing it. let's do it. Yeah. So no, he's brilliant for me and good for the lads. And yeah.
I have to ask a question because the talk about now I know the last day. I don't know if you ever employed it. The last time we talked, I suggested maybe getting a mechanic's trolley to roll underneath the front row of the scrum, so you could look back up at the lads, see what they were doing. Don't know if you ever did that.
We, you know, in the World Cup, we put a GoPro in there. We put a GoPro in there to see where. So right in the middle of the scrum to see where hookers were they square.
Hold
or
on,
where,
you waited till the fucking World Cup. I told you this 2 years ago to get under there on a mechanic's trolley.
I don't listen. I told you that. Like, I'm just
Understood.
for the moment. I in my head, I made it up myself. So I obviously clearly heard you say it. It rolled around in my head for a couple of months, and then I just was like, "Ping!"
Got it, lads.
Yeah, the lads hated it. By the way,
did they?
Yeah, they were like, "Fogs, I can't concentrate. All I can do is keep seeing the thing. I'm afraid we fall on it." So then I was like, "Get it out of there." By the way, that was Tom O'Mahony's idea. Yeah.
Well, because the talk, like for the longest time, was Andrew Porter's arse. My God, the talk about one man's arse, and it's a noble size arse, because being a front row, you gotta have a big anchor, like, you know what I mean, to throw into. But they talk about that man's arse moving out the way and in the way.
I think they over talked about it.
Yeah.
And I think referees probably were focused on it more than they should have been.
It was like J-Lo during the mid-2000s.
Yeah, it was a pain in my ass. them focusing on his ass, but he's an incredible player. Like, we're so lucky to have someone like Andrew. He's a horse.
Jesus Christ, he's built.
Yeah, and no tight head really wants to take him on in a fair scrap. You know what I mean?
Of course.
So you need to work a little angle to get him to move into it.
Built like a fucking Marvel character, for fuck's sake. Like,
he's full of power. So yeah, like we're learning all the time, and he's someone he's had a very good Six Nations this time round. I think there was 1 or 2 games. There's 4 or 5 penalties at scrum time. I think he's in a good place. I know he'll be playing against Leicester, or I think he'll be playing against Leicester in a couple of days' time. So
yeah.
Look forward to seeing them back in European action. Now, be good to see.
Had you anything to do with Peter O'Mahony popping his elbow back up again? Did you see, like, they did the rounds?
No,
it was the ultimate, like, dad moment. It was like, we'll just push the elbow back up there, son. There you go. It was the most dad thing ever. It was so lovely.
In fact, I said to him, you don't need to do that, but he did it anyway because he's helping his mate out. That's Peter, isn't it? Like, he's trying to do the right thing for the fella next to him. He's brilliant. He's brilliant. Okay. But in his head, he's like, no chance. I'm doing it. I don't give a fuck. Yeah, it was brilliant. Yeah, tapping the elbow up.
Just a little moment of deadness. Just going, no, that's going back up there. It's good, lad. Up your pop. Yeah. Imagine saying that to, like, a human, human built like that. I know, come on, just a little.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, I don't know what sort of reception he'll give anybody else. Jesus Christ, to some going to go at that man's lawn, like.
I couldn't believe it. I genuinely couldn't believe it. He's down there with his scissors, like Pete.
Yeah.
So for Bundy, well, actually, I could believe it. Bundy, sure, he's a law unto himself. Bundy, he was clearly very excited, and he was been egged on by a crowd. You see,
he had
a crowd of people around him, and they were like, "Yeah, Bundy, yeah, this would be brilliant."
There was a moment, I can read eyes, right, fairly well from around the room. That's how I do it, right? And I'm looking at him, and there's a moment, even tough and all as Bundyaki is, there's a moment where he's like,
fuck.
When
he with the golf club, and so much of it came up. But yeah, he dug a bit up, didn't he?
Yeah. But you're in for a penny and for a pound at that stage, like, you know what I
mean? Yeah. He's remarkable. It's a brilliant thing. After the Six Nations, the captain will have the lads to the house, and they're such a good group. Honestly, they're such a brilliant group. They'll go back to hating each other when they're playing against each other in the provinces, which is the right thing to do. But they look after each other like that. And Pete had him down to his house after, I think Robbie had a wedding in Cashel.
Yes.
Robbie Henshaw, and I think they were halfway down the road, so they kept going and down to Pete for pints and burgers, apparently.
Imagine letting those buffaloes through your house, like a fellow who'd be fairly. I said the house would be fairly pristine, like. Do you know what I mean?
Mind
Jesus.
you, Pete's house, he could turn you like that, you know.
Yeah.
Uncle Pete.
What? So what was? Because I'd heard a few players during the World Cup kind of saying, "Well, who's master of ceremonies when it comes to crack?" And they were like, Fogs. Like you have to.
David Kilcoyne is 100% the master of ceremonies. I'm an organizer of games that they have crack with.
Okay, right. And what are you searching for games, or is like just anything? Yeah.
Sometimes there's loads in your mind. So once a week. So usually on a Tuesday, the team has been announced, and there's a little bit of, there's a little bit of tension. Some of the players know they're going to be, playing for Ireland the weekend. That brings its own bit of stress, and then there's other lads that have missed out, and so on. So it's generally a day where there's a little bit of stress around the place. So to offset that small bit, we Faz talked about having crack. I did it in Leinster. We called it a competition day, but it's called crack in Ireland. And I've done top bins. We did a hurling thing where they were soloing and keeping the sliotar on the hurley.
Lovely.
Going in and out through things and over the bar. Competitive games down to the ridiculous. Blind man's bluff, three-legged races, you name it. We've done just about anything. So I'll be the one going, okay, this is what we're doing. The teams are broken up into 4 teams, and they all have their own chants and shouting and roaring, and they'll come together. This is the game. This is what we're going to do. Off you go. Now, I tend to explain it. So Paul says, and Andy, I tend to explain it sort of okay.
Yeah.
And there's bits left out that lead to chaos.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. So
you can only picture a bunch of fellas who are competitive anyway.
Yeah.
If it was an egg and fucking spoon race, they're
exactly.
going for it.
We've done that. We've done an egg and spoon race where you're constantly looking at someone like Jemison who's trying to cheat the whole time. So then the staff don't help me monitor. So it ends up in a little bit of chaos, and that's what crack is. There's a winner at the end of it. They all cheer, and then they go in, and Simon Easterby does his defense, which again is a serious enough main D preview of the week. So they'll go from chaotic shouting and roaring and messing into sit down, and they're ready to take on information. And that's the idea behind the crack. And we've done, you name it, we've done it really. And sometimes you would be like, I'd be coming down going, say we're in at 6:30 or 7 o'clock in the morning, and I'm kind of going, fuck, what am I going to do? We've done that. We've done this. I've done Swiss ball tennis too many times. I can't do that again. Hide and seek. We've done that. I've done. Oh Jesus, what am I going to do? And I'll start asking people. Well,
like a preschool teacher, like going,
yeah.
Colouring. We'll colouring. Can we do colouring? It's raining out.
What do you think? What did you enjoy? Have you enjoyed any of the crack things? No. Fuck off. No use to me. What did you enjoy? And I'm walking around, and I'll be asking half the staff, and eventually I'll get a half an idea and go, that's it. We'll do a Cheltenham's on. We'll do a race course thing, and it'll be brilliant.
But I do love that you almost like medicinally / formally need a bit of euphoria before seriousness, because it cleans the cobwebs out, like, doesn't it? That's interesting, like.
Yeah, it does, and it genuinely does. I guess there's various things on in the day. There might be little meetings where they're taking a certain amount of concentration from a player, and then there's the seriousness of the week itself. They understand they're going to be representing their country, their province, their county, their family, all that stuff. It adds up. It all adds up, and they have their own little mini meetings. They have their own conversations around play, and it's all very serious. And in order to take on more, sometimes you do need to just have a laugh and do something stupid, and it clears it up a little bit for them to go and take on more information. And that's the idea behind it. And I initially didn't like the idea of it because I was like, Andy, I don't want the lads to think I'm a messer, and I want
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I want to be a serious coach. And he was kind of looking at me going,
Right.
Here, listen, you've let the cat out of the bag, kid. So,
Play to your strengths here, John. Come on, play to your strengths. Come on, lad.
He was kind of looking like that. Come here. So he said, no, this is important, and fuck it, let's do it. And it's happening. I'm going to say it's going really, really well because I'm involved in it. But I'd say if the players were on here, they'd be going, it's fucking shit. But who cares? I'm on here, so.
Yeah, it was funny because Paulie was kind of talking about it, that because we had a very deep conversation the very first night at the comedy club. Actually made it even all the weirder because I think it came from so left field from him and Earlsey because they just had no concept. And then they're planked in front and part of this scenario. So I think his mind was blown. He was like, what the fuck has just happened? And then by pure fluke, there was a guy he's a patron and he's nearly as big as Paul. He's a farmer, but he's a patron to the podcast and he raises his own Wagyu beef. And he'd messaged me to go, well, I drop you in some mate. I'm coming to the show tonight. And I thought he was messing. And then you're talking to Paul O'Connell. It was the most bizarre scenario. I'm talking to Paul O'Connell about stand-up comedy and how you know, because what he couldn't grasp was how I was able to break up the whole room and bring it together and everybody's head comes off. And still people actually like it and like me at the end of it. And out of nowhere, this bloke just hands in like a 5 kilo bag of various meat frozen. He goes, sorry, Sam. So how are you, Paul? And just left it in. So now O'Connell's fucking head is about to explode because he's looking and going, the fuck? What just happened? I went, this is after the show. Like, he goes, what the fuck? I says, well, he's a patron. He really likes the podcast and he raises his own Wagyu. So people just, Jesus fucking Christ, Earlsey, how the fuck do we not know about any of this? I'm like, because you play rugby, man. That's kind of your thing.
We live in a bubble.
But what he was referencing, the euphoria that he had was, it was nearly like when they played for Munster, where everybody got it. Nothing was safe. Everybody just got it off each other. But it actually cleared out the decks nicely for each other that, well, we've said the worst shit in the world to each other now, so I guess we can go play some rugby together, you know, that kind of way.
Yeah, the dressing room is such a leveler. Like, it levels the playing field from the best of the lads to the lads that are on the fringes or on the way up. If you can hold your own in a dressing room, you're their equal, you know. So or everyone's equal.
Yes.
And people slagging lads is a brilliant leveler, and that generally is the dressing room, I think, in most sports, you know. But it's such an important part of it, you know. And I think in Munster I was there for only 3 seasons, but it was vicious, but it was hilarious. You know, hilarious. I used to talk about with Leinster. I used to talk about being able to go in with a shield and a sword, so that you were able to block and then attack people with your own comments and constantly be firing back at people. And then you'd eventually make it to your seat, and then you were some way safe because you fired back a few shots, and then you would establish yourself in the room.
Because he'd suggest, he was like, we could bring you in. You could do this with the players. I said, I don't know. I said, it's a good idea, Paul.
Yeah, you said it to me. Yeah.
But how are they? What's that?
It'd be a great idea.
Well, I'm because they've had. I know there was stand up before, and sometimes I think lads would go. That's the mistake you make, sometimes lads as stand up. They'll go to say a scenario like to say go to the rugby team or the soccer team, or whatever, and they'll just go straight into it like it's their comedy set.
Yeah.
And sure, some of the lads are going, what the fuck is going on? So if you don't establish the elephant in the room, like the Late Late is a perfect example. When I was, doing the warm up for the Late Late, they didn't come to fucking see me. do you know what I mean? The telly is literally, the real life telly is right behind my head, and they're going, "Who's this? Yeah, who's this bollocks out here for the next 15 minutes?" Like, so I pointed out, I go, "I know, you've no fucking interest in me. The band are even more interested in me right now." But it's in your best interest to go along with me because I've got a roaming mic. Exactly. And I'm going to make bits of you, and they're paying me regardless, lads. So, and then people kind of go, oh, Grant. And don't worry, I'll be out of the fucking way. And the good crack will happen in a minute, But once you establish that, people are grand with it then.
Yeah.
But it was, because I was kind of saying, you're talking Munster terms where you were all verbally violent with each other. And Ireland terms may not be the same thing, like, fuck it. They'll be all right.
They're all curious about if you're doing something that's at a really high level, they're going to be curious as to how you got to that point, what your process is, because that's kind of how they think. Like they're working things out the whole time
Right.
around.
Yeah, that makes sense then. Yeah.
So that's what Paul, I'm telling you now, he's like, I wonder how he came out now. How does it all fit, and how does he bring it back together? The lads are like that. You know, when people come in, sometimes if they're not telling the process part, you lose the lads a little bit, because they are curious about if it's a businessman or whomever. They want to know how you got to that point, and what you're doing to stay there, and so on. And I tell you, it'd be worth it. Next Six Nations.
Yeah. 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 I tell you what
Get
I'll
him
do.
in, all the man.
I'll fly down to South Africa. I'll fly down to South Africa for the summer. There we go.
If you're willing to sacrifice, yeah,
Yeah, whatever. Just it's for my country. That's the way I put it down. I mean, I'm gonna get as fat as the food. I'm gonna be the one drinking way too much and whatnot, and I'll just be abusive. How's that?
yeah,
But
sounds good.
but yeah, it was just interesting. Like I wasn't correlating. Well, I wasn't correlating what I was doing with fucking professional rugby players, but it was interesting that there definitely is processes. And while it looks like you're only fluting around,
Yeah,
a trained eye like Paul and Earlsy that night were going, oh no, there's fucking direction. You know, you could see him watching me. They were laughing at, they'd lose themselves then and laugh. But you could
yeah,
see
yeah.
him. I noticed. I went like you'd be creeped out if it was any other profession with the amount the lads were watching me. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, but it was just interesting that when you're trying to work something at the highest level you can, that
Yeah,
pro rugby players are like, oh, this is kind of like I can at least you can see what's happening. You know, that kind of way.
right. Yeah, for sure.
But there's a guy because I was talking with a guy, Will Fleury is his name. He's a fighter he's from Care. He went to Rockwell. He took
Glory.
up he was playing with Cashel, I think, and he was injured. He's about 17 or 18. He was injured, and on his coming back from his injury, he took up or grappling just for fitness and cardio. Turns out really good at it. He's a pro fighter, like
Wow.
one of the most scariest people you've ever seen, like terrifyingly strong. Um, but he asked me a question on the podcast. He goes, "Do you?" So he says, because again, he was doing it. He was comparing fighting with stand up. I went, okay, the health differences. I can eat chips on the way home. I could even smoke a fag on stage if necessary. Like it's actually considered a prop. But as he was like, well, I'd say at weddings,
Yeah,
do you
okay,
get
yeah.
fellas now trying to be the funny man? I says, oh God, yeah. He says, well,
Yeah,
I get fellas the odd time squaring up to me, like going, oh, I've clipped a few fellas myself in my day. I'm like, Jesus Christ, you're saying this to a guy with a scar that across his eye that looks like he's been belted by a hatchet. Do you know what I mean? Like you
putting up with people.
putting up with it, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
But I think it's a very Irish thing too. You don't get it much in the UK. Irish people, I think they're very funny. Do you know that? You know,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
we
yeah,
are. There's a lot of funny bastards, though. There are a lot.
yeah.
Inadvertent. I actually said to Paul, if there was anybody I knew that was from your background that could, it's John Fogarty, could actually do stand up. He
Oh,
could.
Jesus, I wouldn't have the balls to do it, and I think there
I'd
has
love
to.
to challenge you. I'd love to challenge you to it to do 5 minutes.
I honestly wouldn't have the balls or the confidence. Like there has to. I guess you're observing everything the whole time. You're taking bits in and seeing humor everywhere, and being able to regurgitate it back in a funny way. Oh fuck it! I'd be like, oh Jesus.
But you
I
do. You literally just did throughout the last 45 minutes of this podcast. You literally regurgitated funny shit. Did you see?
Yeah,
Like,
well, yeah, I don't know. Dennis, stick to Dennis.
yeah.
Dave Kilcoyne have you had Dave Kilcoyne on?
No, that's somebody I really want to have on. Like, he's
He's funny.
wired. He's wired to the fucking. He
He
is
is
wired
wired.
right into the mains, isn't he?
Oh yeah. He's right up there. He's like he's an experience, I suppose. The Dave Kilcoyne
That's a great
experience.
description. The Dave
Yeah,
Kilcoyne experience.
yeah, exactly. Get it on, get him on. He's very funny guy.
Yeah, because anytime I've ever seen him interviewed, he seems kind of out of sync, but in a good way. Do you know what I mean? Like he seems. Is he in our dimension or where is he?
Exactly, yeah.
'Cause-
He- He's just he's just so quick with people as well and it's the slagging bit, you know.
Brilliant.
If a sexto, he'd be able to slap him down and shut him up within seconds, you know. Um, so
Yeah,
yeah,
it must be killer for. Yeah, I can only imagine like if you're like Johnny Sexton, as is like the greatest, and then somebody just with words buries
Yeah,
you. It's like, oh
buries
jeez,
you. And you can't, and there's no comeback.
no.
There's no comeback, because he's got another one loaded up. It's brilliant. It's brilliant to watch.
During camp, because I won't keep you all evening because there's carrots to be had. You're
Fucking carrots. The carrots are finished now. She might turn the lights on.
that's
Jessica, will you turn the lights on there?
it's all right. You're still beautiful. It's fine. It's fine. So how do you how like the temperament in the entirety of say you were in camp because you go off. You said it to yourself during camp. Like there is no John Fogarty left, and like there's no getting in contact with you. Like what's family life? I suppose Andy seems like a fellow who's like, all right, well, yeah, sure, all right, you got to
He's,
pop out.
yeah, he's brilliant. Yeah, you're in there. The girls are all mine are at the age now where they understand. Jessica's the youngest there, who I asked to turn a light on, but she actually turned every other light on, bar the light I wanted to turn on. Isn't that brilliant? You know what I
It's,
mean? And when she hit 6 or 7 switches, and I went, and she goes, okay, and I went, thanks,
yeah.
yeah,
That
yeah.
is,
Jessica's probably the youngest of them, and we'd have a few phone calls, and I and a couple of bit of FaceTime, but the rest of them understand, I think, at this stage now what's happening, and um, they get bored. Like they get bored. I'd be on I'd miss the kids, and I'd ring home, or you'd be on the phone, and you'd be like, "Well, how are you? How's things? What did you play on yard today?" And she'd be like, Jessica, and are you doing something else? And she'll say, "Oh, I'm just playing Roblox," and there's the lights now.
the lights down.
I'm just playing Roblox or whatever. So within about 2 minutes of actually talking to me on the phone, they don't want to talk to me anymore, and all the rest of it. So family life is kind of all down to Sinead, and they're good. They're, like I said, they're at a good age, 15, 12, 10, and 6, where
Yeah.
they're kind of looking after each other a little bit. So it's
Yeah,
not so
because
bad.
I'm convinced my fella's in the rat anyway, because no matter what I ask him, what?
Yeah,
I don't
nothing.
know. Sure way? Huh? Wouldn't I'd say I don't remember. I'll be honest, Dad, I don't remember. Like,
Yeah,
Jesus
you're
Christ.
getting nothing out of them. Yeah,
Nothing. Not like nothing at all. Nothing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, yeah. Sinead looks after the house, and um, you get used to it too. Though you get used to being in camp, and getting up to your room when the day finishes, you kind of your room is your kind of haven, and the door closes, and it's usually a nice hotel, and the bed is a nice bed. You have a shower,
Yeah.
you jump into bed, and you're like, ah, and no one is annoying you, and you're off to
That's what I
sleep.
wanted to ask you. Like, what's it like?
It's great. Like it's brilliant. The RFU
Cucumbers
look
on the eyes, like the fingernails out.
exactly, yeah. Yeah, you have they look after the team and staff very well, the RFU, and yeah, it's nice to, a cup of coffee then as well. It's just like we come back, so we'll be in the HPC in Blanche, and then we'll come back to Carton House, and you might have a shower, come back downstairs to do a bit of work, and you'll just go like that. Can I get a decaf or something like that? And
Yeah.
over comes served to you. Thank you very much. And they might say, "Would you like a little biscuit?"
Oh Lord.
Yeah, and I'll go, "Well, I'll try one. I'll try one." And then over it comes, and so you start to like that stuff. Up to your room. Your bed is always dressed when you come back from you know what I mean. The
Oh
room is
man.
immaculate.
That's
Yeah,
your royalty, basically. It's like what the
yeah,
royals deal with. They go,
yeah,
I
big
just
time.
love
Yeah,
to live like a commoner for a while. You're like, no, no, for
it
one.
takes you come back to the house then, and I don't. I ask for a coffee, and it's like
You
coffee.
know, you know where it is.
Yeah. And yeah, there's a little bit of an adjustment period when you finish Six Nations, that you're trying to readjust back to common folk life and your
You're looking at
house.
the wash machine, rubbing your chin, going, what the
Yeah,
fuck does this yoke do?
yeah. I'm not picking that up. Yeah, so there's usually a fight 2 or 3 days after you come home.
You should try the polite thing that you just did there, as Sinead walks past the table. You're like, sorry, I could a little coffee there, maybe a decaf. and just turn back to the laptop just to see. I mean,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. But there is a time when you're home and it's just literally like, right, come on, cop yourself on, give yourself
yeah,
enough,
of course, yeah. It's
be a dad again.
but it is kind of first world troubles, and oh God, can't believe my bed isn't made again. Ugh.
Yeah, yeah.
Rotating back to the real world like Vietnam vets coming back. Going, what's this bullshit? What's
Exactly.
this
Yeah.
bullshit?
What is this?
Who are these
Yeah,
staff? There's your children. Oh,
yeah.
right.
They're annoying.
Because do you know what? Here's and this is a broad meta, and this is from a child, right? This is from I was about to walk out to the office, and I said to Fiona, as I'm going out to do a podcast, I said, you're heading off to bed in a bit. Who's on the podcast? He doesn't know what podcasts are. Who's on the podcast? It's John Fogarty. Who's he? I says, he's from up the road. Are you going up the road? If
Yeah,
only John was
yeah.
living back up the road again. But I won't say it. I'm after saying it to you now, and a tear came to your eye there. Did I can see it. But I said, no, he's the scrum coach and he fucking loves scrummaging. Oh, Jesus Christ. He don't want the ball.
Hmm.
He can do without tackling, but all he wants is driving into people like a
Yeah,
bullock. And
yeah,
like,
yeah. Yeah.
Fogarty'd love that. Love to see
It's
that
it,
now.
if I go to something, I'll usually might get cornered by 60-year-old larger man who'll come over and go, they'll make their way over slowly. Say if I'm waiting for a drink at the bar, I'll notice them kind of like out of the foliage, like across like a buffalo kind of making their way over to the water, worried about a crocodile getting them. And they'll eventually get close enough and they might go, I played tight head for years. And I go, oh, very good, very good. Now, would there be any value in just sending Tig, directly across the scrum? I mean, you can't say no, no, that's stupid. Would you like you kind of go, yeah, look, go on, tell me, go on, and you have a conversation. Then another fellow might make his way over, and scrum is popular with bigger lads. So yeah, maybe your young fellas, maybe your young fella might have a future in the front row. Maybe who knows?
Yeah, I thought maybe seven
Pushing
because
him.
he's going to be taller than me, and he's got that strong old country go about him, pulling out
Yeah.
block, loves throwing out timber around the place, ignorant stuff like, you know, there's no finesse there. He just loves ignorant old stuff. So I
Yeah.
thought maybe
Yeah.
a seven or whatever, but all he wants to do is smash. And if the more beard I have on, the better. He's like, drive
Yeah.
it, come on,
Yeah.
you bastard. And he's like, you won't. I will not back down from how sore this is. Like, it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I was loved seeing that out crack. Now he'd love seeing that. This,
Yeah.
doesn't care about the ball. He's like, I don't give a
Yeah.
shit about the
When he's
ball.
got a scrum session, all it is pushing and like slapping. It's sometimes we don't even use the ball. So he'd
That's
love it.
lovely. That's
Yeah.
lovely. But his question and deep and meta question was this. I says, yeah, he's a scrum coach with Ireland. We watch Ireland. He goes, is that hard? What, scrummaging? Ah, no, scrummaging is easy. Is his job hard? Jesus, Jesus, I should start the show with that.
A
Or
good
that,
question.
and that's
Yeah.
it. Is it a hard job?
Is it a hard job? It isn't when you've got the group of players that are there at the moment.
Yes, right.
Genuinely. Sometimes it's about helping them figure it out. Sometimes a tight head and a loose head. They're they're not talking directly to each other, as in like he's thinking of doing one thing and the other guy's thinking of the other thing, and this guy is thinking, well, he should know what I'm doing here, and then this guy's thinking, well, this is what I'm trying to do, and sometimes it's just about connecting them up onto the same page. In terms of like the physics of Scrum and how it works and all that stuff, it's all fairly straightforward, but getting everyone on the same page and understanding what each of them are doing at the right time, all that stuff can be a bit more complicated, and figuring it out together is unbelievably important. And I think that's what over the last few weeks of the Six Nations, there was a lot of figure from the World Cup to now. That stuff, we figured a few things out that helped us to be a more dominant pack.
Yeah, because immediately you saw like once they all, it almost looks like it locks. Do you know what I mean? Like you see a whole like one of those Chinese puzzle locks that it all the whole thing
Yeah,
goes oh junk, and they're all as one. Do you know? It's
yeah.
like how the fuck is John doing that? How like
You know
it's
the mad thing is, so say the other thing as well has been unbelievably observant around what habit that they're chasing down. So like the habits during training sessions, whether it's, and it could be for a 6 or 7, just to be knees up on bind, spine nice and close and in line with his prop. Sometimes it's just keeping them to account as well. Like so that you're really aware of, are they doing all the bits they need to be doing at the right time in every scrum session? Are they chasing down the right habits the whole time? And sometimes if I start to focus on one part of the scrum, say our entry, and I'm talking
yeah.
a lot of that, and I'm presenting on the timing of our entry and all that stuff. Our secondary sync and our chasing our feet bit so that we've juice in our hips so that we can go again. All this stuff then kind of sometimes can be forgotten about because you're shining up one area and the players will focus on that, and then they might just take their eye off the other little bits. So for the whole thing to work at the whole time, it's about making sure that I'm over their habits and I'm seeing the right things in training the whole time, all the players. And that sounds simple. It really does. But there's so
No, it
much.
doesn't. It
Well,
doesn't. You've got
there's so
good
much on
God.
the whole time. There's defense, there's attack, there's kick chase. There's so much of the game that's really important to them. So I'm trying to make sure that they're aware that they're all so dependent on each other when it comes to scrum, and that we're earning the right together the whole time. That's what we talk about. That we're earning the right the whole time. We're creating something for the team. So it's a real selfless thing to do, to be in a scrum, because usually your front row will get the credits or your tight head, but there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 that are creating the opportunity for our front row to do well, and it's putting that all together is there's a little bit to it. Now if Paul was here, he'd go, there's fuck all to it, get in and push. But
Yeah, yeah,
there is
yeah, yeah. He was a second rush. That's all. Just head down and shove between the
all he
arses.
did was push. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. The do you think because rugby comes, it fluctuates. You know what I mean? Like we all know it does. Like so all of a sudden, a couple of years back, you had to have two of the biggest humans ever in the
Yeah.
centers and stuff.
Yeah.
So and then it just trends come, but it would seem some things never change. You gotta have a good scrum, don't you? Like there are like two staples. Like there's a good scrum and a good line out, and you're off. After that you're like, well, yeah. Because I something very interesting about Ireland women playing. Anna knew because Anna's playing in La Rochelle. I said, I'll tell you something interesting before we go into the first match. Whatever France bring to the game, their forward pack are going to be incredible. The forwards pre the camp met for a full week before anybody else joined them, and lo and behold,
Wow.
everything the forwards did was absolutely locked in,
Yeah.
perfect
Yeah.
sync.
Yeah.
Like you can kind of work with what's in the backs, but the forwards you gotta have that shit right, like don't you? Because there's so many nuances, like.
Yeah, I think set piece and defense can win championships. That's not to say, like, I think Ireland's attack has been, for the men's has been exceptional.
Unbelievable, yeah.
We score an enormous amount of points, but your set piece, the momentum, the physical and mental side of the game. If you're getting if you're getting stopped in your maul, you're conceding penalties in your scrum, the belief within the pack can just wane a little bit, and the momentum of a team can start to crawl all over you. So being able to be clear in your head the whole time, like we talk about getting back to neutral before a scrum, you've got these 7 or 8 seconds where you can use them to think about what didn't happen, or you can use them to connect up with each other, and we'd be driving that connection piece and making sure that we're mentally and physically ready for every set piece, every moment, every scrum. So it's unbelievably important for the momentum and the belief within the pack that they're dominant and
Yeah.
they're on top. And that can accumulate over a whole game, over a whole Six Nations. You don't want to be fixing things too much in a Six Nations, fixing you're fixing after the first 3 games. Every time you come back, fixing too much, you start to, the belief within what we're doing starts to shake a little bit. So there's always pressure to make sure we're on track and we're developing the whole time, you know. It's
And
I'm now doing the hand thing.
I was just gonna say the hands look great there.
Now talking about the game more, and I'm starting to feel it
Look at
inside.
you. Look at you.
But you
He's
know
gonna
what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I love hearing that. Like I love hearing people that absolutely nerd out on things. Do you know, because you have to a degree. Sure, there's good crack and all that, but you have to a degree. But your
Yeah,
nerding out isn't for the want to be in the bollocks who's just going to be gossiping at the weekend.
yeah.
You got to do it for your job.
This has
This
to
is
work. Yeah.
I didn't get to talk to you since so I won't keep you much longer, but I want a quick one on emergency forward moments. So you have, say, last year, which Netflix, by the way, you should have had so much. Like they could have had John Fogarty episode. I'm just saying, you looked great on camera. You looked, I mean,
I don't know.
no, you look. We'll just call a spade a spade. You look hot on camera. Whatever filter they had on, it looked great, John. Looked
Well,
great.
we put that filter on this as well.
Oh, yeah, I have it on right now. I don't know if you, yeah, you look amazing. But obviously, you have Josh Van der Fleer hooking. You know what I mean? Throwing the ball
Oh
into
yeah,
the
yeah.
line out. Emergency scenarios for you, like
Scotland.
when you see like a back row or whatever gone, and you're thrown in, you say James Lowe onto the side because big old unit. Like, yeah, what days do you go right? Which one of these fucking looks? Which one is the strongest? You're all fannies in my eyes because you're out the backs. But which one is the strongest? Like, is that how does that come about for
Well,
emergency scenarios?
you talk about the what if scenarios.
Yeah,
You know, when you'd go through the yellow card, the double yellow, the red. The coaches would go through that. Players would line up to do the throwing. Like Bundy's constantly going, give us a go. And I'm like, Bundy, would you just go away? I'm working here. Um, so there's a few players that we know that can slot in to throw the ball. There's a few players that we know that can slot into the sides of the scrum. So defensively, how our back line will work. 5 meters out when there's no backfield, how our back line will operate, or how our defensively we'll operate off set piece in the middle of the field and so on. So we'll have players that can slot in, slot out. Sometimes we'll be down to 7. Sometimes we'll put back on depending on where we are. And yeah, we go through the scenarios and then we'll do a tiny bit of training. So I'll do a tiny bit of throwing with Josh, the 9s, and Keane Healy throws a little bit as well. So they'll throw 1 or 2, 3 or 4 a week max.
right.
Just in the event that something like that happens. The Scotland week from last year's Six Nations,
Yeah,
you couldn't make that up.
mental.
It really was mental. I'd be lying if I said on the sideline I was like, listen, what we're going to do is this, and that's what we're going to like. I literally was. I was, you know, when your mouth goes dry. And
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh fuck, like you know, we go in at half time. We have a kind of a conversation. I've spoken to Keane outside about going in to play hooker. But in my head, I'm like, I don't know how this is going to go. And
Yeah.
we're talking about break foot or not break foot, or just take it off. So there is a bit of nerves. Like, you know, the coaches are the same as the players. We've a fair idea what's going on, but when things go pear-shaped, like they did in that game, it's all new and you're trying to figure it out. But Andy, I go into Andy and I walk into the dressing room and he starts laughing. He's openly laughing, you know, where
And how bizarre the scenario is, right?
Yeah, because I mean, you're facing down having your loose head playing hooker and your 7 throw the ball in because all the hookers are gone.
Yeah.
And we're under pressure. I think we're a point or 2 ahead or we're a point or 2 behind.
Yeah.
We're going for a Grand Slam. We're in Scotland over there. They're full of pomp and it's halftime and we're in the dressing room and Andy's smiling and it turns into a laugh because he sees my face going like because he'll say, how will we go? And I'm like, really, I'm not too sure, but we're ready for the scenario. You know, we're ready for the scenario. Paul comes in, talks to Josh and the line-out callers about these are the options we're gonna use. I'm talking to some of the front rows about being primed and ready for, you know, we're going to load a little bit more or whatever. And Andy's just saying, look, this is perfect for us because you know, he'll talk about going to South Africa or going to New Zealand, not just doing a 3-test tour, doing a 5-test tour. Like, fuck it, let's do a 5-test tour. Let's. He doesn't care about the chaos of it. Um, he's just bringing the team together, going, boys, we're ready, and building them up to go back out, and they go back out, and the scrum gets 2 or 3 penalties. We win every line out, and we score a couple of tries, and we win the game quite comfortably in the end. But in those moments where there is an emergency, there is a certain amount of, you know.
I wish I wore a nappy. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So, but look, the playing group are very open. They're very open as well. We're lucky Keane just fucking stepped in there. Like,
yeah. You see,
he's scrummaged better than the other 2 hookers. Now, Dan and Ronan.
wow, wow.
You've heard it here live.
You heard it here. Like, well, there you listen. Who are you going to ask only the Scrum King? You know what I mean? If anybody knows
I've
the
never
Scrum,
called myself the Scrum King.
oh, the title of this episode is going to be Scrum King.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm going to actually text Paulie there now, and that will be your name going forward, Scrum King. There'll be a
brilliant.
crown in the post.
But yeah, it's gas, isn't it? It's brilliant. It's brilliant what the sport can throw at you, and that was a game I'll never ever forget, really. But that was a half time I'll never forget.
Even for the fair weather fan who wouldn't know a rugby ball if you kicked it up their hole, would look at that scenario and go, "Oh,
Yeah.
they might be fucked here." They like, but this is also very entertaining. This is some,
Yeah.
you know, this is Disney movie stuff, Mighty Ducks stuff. You know what I mean?
Exactly,
You know,
yeah.
it's Mighty Ducks. You were like, I'll throw the ball in. Of course you would, Josh. You're the nicest person ever.
Yeah,
You look
of
like you bring
course you would.
biscuits to
Exactly,
everybody's
yeah.
house. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
but healthy, gluten-free ones. Do you know the kind of way?
Yeah, you're losing weight eating them. It was awesome, yeah.
But look, I know we didn't. Fair play to you, and I know at certain points you were probably wanting to just ask about the weather and tip, and whatnot. It's still class. It's
Is it still top end?
God. To be honest with you, the castle scenario here is only getting better. The Rock, as we know, year on year, number 2 in Ireland. I'd say Care Castle not far behind it now.
Yeah, Cromwell's Ball. Yeah.
Yeah. I've
lot.
opened a comedy club in Care.
Yeah. Is it?
Yeah.
Whereabouts?
Do you know the Hill Bar?
Oh, do I know the Hill Bar?
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I do, yeah.
Great pint of Guinness, great pub. We basically built an entire comedy club in there's a separate venue to the back of it, built a comedy club in there.
Brilliant.
And everybody from Deirdre to Delamere to Fred Cook to Tiernan is doing warm-ups there. There's everybody's coming. We're nearly 15 months into it now.
Well, I have a good friend of mine, Dave Walsh, who owns the Care House Hotel. So I'll be down there every now and again. So next time I'm down, we'll be in.
Brilliant. Yeah. Pop on in. It's what it is wild. 'Tis wild. I've made wild people. There's what comedians notice that they get in there. There's an energy in here. And because it's taken me that long to build them, the first couple of months, lads are sitting there with their arms folded going, I don't know what fucking way this is going to go. Now you see them, they're wearing like fucking mad shirts coming in and talking about obscure comedy specials that they saw. And
That's
people,
brilliant.
so anything. I mean, it's a safe space for anything to be said. And everybody gets it. Everybody gets it.
Yeah.
So, and that's the people, like there was a guy in there the other day and he was trying to heckle a woman that I was already fucking talking to. And this guy, I looked down and went, man, you're like, how are you opening your mouth and drawing attention to yourself? You've got a head like a fucking Skoda. Like, you're a sniper's dream. Are you fucking joking? We try, you know, it was, but everybody, there's a glorious, it's almost therapeutic. People walk away going, oh, great. Because you won't normally hear this sort of madness.
Yeah.
In everyday life.
Is it a throwback almost to, you know, a smaller venue like that? Is it a throwback to what comedy used to be like in clubs or?
Yeah. But do you know what? It's you'd be surprised. Clubs are kind of, it definitely, yeah, it is a throwback to what clubs would have been like. Especially in Dublin, they've gone safe. Do you know what I mean? More so not because people mind themselves too much, but you have a lot of people, international people coming in, sitting in the audience who are on, and they won't get it. Do you know what I mean? If you're going hard, do you know what I mean? When you're hard, and there's no point, and it is exactly that for the comedians. They're like, oh, Jesus Christ. Oh,
Yeah.
this might be the hottest room in the country because of this, because you can go
Oh,
in there.
I want in. I want to go.
Oh, light it up. I'll send you on the next few dates, and whatever ones.
You
So
do.
you
Yeah.
just let me know, because you know your calendar and all the rest of it. So just go, yeah, let's make it a business.
In.
Um, because we've done comedy up at Care House, but the thing is, it's a hotel. This now is a
Yeah.
comedy. You walk into our place, and
Oh,
it
the hill
feels.
is class. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you walk into the back of the hill into the club, and you go, oh, this is like a New York comedy club. The stage is
Brilliant.
all the seating is
Yeah. Yeah.
right and
Yeah. Yeah.
everything
Yeah.
else.
Love it.
Yeah, yeah, it'll be right up your street now. It's your kind of gravy. Listen, this has been you've been tremendous, as I knew the king would. The king.
Well, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure.
Um, and on top of that, by the way, the greatest Paul O'Connell impression that there is. If O'Connell ever listens, Paul, if you're listening to this is what you sound like. It's exactly what you
Listen, listen.
listen.
Yeah. He
Um,
hates it, but I'm going to keep doing it.
yeah, oh yeah, 100%. And if you do decide to have me in before the Six Nations or during the Six Nations to break up, I will reference that I'll actually really try hard to try and replicate your standard of Paul O'Connell, and you can actually mark me out of 10.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I will look forward to it. I look forward to it.
Listen, John, the king of the scrubs.
Fuck's sake.
I know, fuck's sake. But I knew to just annoy the shit out of you. And you appreciate to have the shit annoyed out of you.
I do. I do. I've nothing. Yeah. Look, listen. My
I'm
wife
the
is now
king. I can
she's now not chopping. She's putting pasta into a bowl. You know what I mean? She just so I get annoyed every day.
oh, understood.
Yeah.
Absolutely understandable. Hence why I have a haven down the garden that
Yeah.
nobody can annoy me. This is where I sometimes come out here and just sit, John. And that's it.
Yeah.
Just
I
sit.
need. Yeah. Yeah.
Just do not.
I need a shed. Hey, I need a shed.
I bet that look more or less told you everything you need to know. Yeah. Well, why don't you go down to Tom's shed and you can sit in his one? Well, you're
Yeah.
more than welcome.
You're all brave there talking to Tom. I don't see you now talking.
John
You know my.
Fogarty. And of course, it should look at thanks very much to the entire Fogarty family that have been involved in this. This has been tremendous.
Thank you, Sinead.
Thanks, Sinead. Thanks a million, John. Mind yourself.
Not at all. Not at all.